TV on this beautiful Tuesday morning. The Lord has given us. It's 8 minutes after 7. Karibu sana. Leo ni siku ya wazazi. Parenting Tuesday is what we do every Tuesday. But before we engage, parents, umekunywa gashai? You need some gashai every morning. Eden Tea is the finest garden tea available at the supermarkets, affordable prices. You have Eden Green Tea, Eden Purple Tea, Eden Lemon Tea, Eden Ginger Tea, and Eden Premium Tea. If you haven't tried Eden Tea, you have no idea what you're missing out on, my friend. This tea is the real deal. When they say it's the finest garden tea, it's not just a slogan, it's actually true. Eden Tea cares for you and I, reminding us COVID-19 is still with us. Let's be vigilant. Let's wash our hands with soap and running water. Let's put on our face masks. Let's maintain interpersonal distance. Let's continue working together. It is these small things that will help us to overcome. And so don't forget to do these things each day, every day. Wazazi, vuteni stool karibu na TV na karibu na radio. We have an interesting conversation we want to engage in. This month we'll be focusing on when the child becomes a parent. And I'm just wondering, as you are growing up, did you ever feel at a point that, the responsibilities of the parents became yours? Maybe something happened and you had to take care of your siblings, or you had to run the house. What is that experience? Share that with me on 20316 for SMS and WhatsApp 0786 316 316. This morning, we get to hang out with Councillor Eunice Kang'ethe. Eunice, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm very fine. Karibu sana. It's good to have you.
Thank you.
So
good to be here too.
Karibu. When the child becomes the parent, interesting topic. Let's begin by looking at what are some of the reasons that would make a child suddenly become a parent.
Great. Mm-hmm. I'm happy to be here this morning.
Yes.
And I thank God this far He has brought us.
Uh-huh.
And we have not suffered a lot due to COVID-19.
Yes.
Now, when I come to your question,
mm-hmm.
there are so many reasons that would make a child to become a parent.
Mm-hmm.
And the most prevalent one is when the parents die.
Mm-hmm.
Death of the parents, both or one.
Yeah. When
the parent become alcoholic, or the parent engages in substance abuse.
Mm-hmm.
When, for instance, there is a child who has a physical disability, and sometimes you find that the girl child is
mm-hmm.
the one who is most vulnerable.
Mm.
Those are some, but a few of the causes of a child becoming a parent.
Okay.
Absent parents,
yeah.
And therefore the child now becomes the mother and the father of the other siblings.
Wow.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, there's something you mentioned there that provoked a thought, and I'm just
yes.
wondering, is there a difference in how children are affected based on their gender with this issue? Do we find more girls having to take on the role of a parent because of this situation than boys?
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Girls are the most affected.
Okay.
And especially the eldest girls, because most of the household chores, according to the society,
mm-hmm.
has been left to ladies,
mm-hmm.
to women. And therefore, if the mother is absent, if the mother is ill or mm-hmm. sick, mentally or physically, we find that the girl child is the one who is mostly affected, the one who is to take care of even the physically disabled sibling.
Yeah.
When we come to the boys, on the other hand, when the father figure is not there, then the boy child becomes vulnerable. And he will also hear from the relatives or even from friends that you are now the man of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And the boy child now realizes that this is a task that I've been given, and therefore I am the person to be in charge because the father figure is not there.
Wow. You say that, and I'm just thinking, man, that is such a huge responsibility. And focusing on the girl child, because the mother mostly nurtures. You know, when the mother is there, the parent is there, they do a lot of the nurturing in the house. You know, at home, they're present. They're the ones who cook. They're the ones who will wash the clothes. They're the ones who will make sure everybody's taken care of. You know, and when the girl child is given that responsibility, I'm thinking that is huge compared to what you said with the boy child. You know, now you're the man of the house. What does that really mean? That's more of feeling like you're the boss. But when I think about the girl child and this responsibility has been given to them, it is such a huge task when you compare the two. I don't know what you think about that.
In fact, it is a huge, huge challenge. And I would just want to go back a bit.
Yeah.
And I would just mention that this responsibility, we can distinguish it into two, or we can divide it into two. There is the temporary parentification. And when we talk of the temporary, that one is a short term.
Okay.
Whereby the girl child has been given the responsibilities of the house. Come to cooking, come to washing clothes. And even as we were growing up, we felt that that was our work.
Yeah.
But now it might go to the extreme, whereby we now have the excessive parenting. And you find that the girl child is even given more responsibility than she ever thought.
Yes.
And she becomes so affected. We shall probably come to the effects later on.
Yeah.
The girl child becomes the caregiver, the primary caregiver of the house.
Wow.
Yes.
You know, you say that, and I'm just wondering.
Yes.
Because I remember a friend of mine sharing how the mother died, and she had to take on now the responsibility of taking care of the home, but she's still in school because the father moved on into another relationship, and he was not ready to bring this relationship into his immediate family. You know, so it's almost like he had another home where he would go to more consistently than coming back now to my friends back home to where the children were. And what that would mean is that the father would give her money to run the home for the whole month, but she's still in school. So she has to go to the market. She has to cook for everybody. She has to ensure the house is clean because she's the older one. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, that is such a huge responsibility. It's almost like you're setting them up to fail. In a sense, I don't know if my thinking is justified.
In fact, it mostly happens, and especially when we come to the widower and the widow. So what happens is the father, once the wife dies, I put it like that, definitely he will feel lonely and he would always want to get some company. He may, to a certain extent, go to what we call spousification, where the girl child now becomes the mother of the other siblings. Now, when the father decides to go on the other side and brings in another figure, who of course will stand in as the stepmother, sometimes these children are mostly affected because they will not actually get the kind of love that they would get from their biological mother.
Yes.
So when the father now goes and leaves this young girl, academically, the young girl will be so much affected because she has to cater for the work at home. And there is also the other responsibility. The teachers are on her heels. You have to perform. And still to herself, she feels that I also need to perfect my studies because I am the person responsible and I would want to help the other siblings. I wouldn't want them to suffer. On the other hand, this one will also affect her self-esteem and her self-worth. And then when those now come into her mind, even if she wanted to perform in school, number one, she may not perform as expected because she's already fatigued.
Yes.
She has mental fatigue, physical fatigue, name them. And therefore her concentration span even in school becomes less, affecting her academic area.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, Councillor Eunice, when we think of a situation where, okay, now it's like this responsibility has been given to you, so you have to take care of your brothers and sisters, vis-a-vis teenage pregnancy. You got pregnant, you're 16, you deliver, you have to take care of this baby. You are now a mother. What's the difference in terms of from the perspective we are looking at this whole topic? What's the difference between these two children? Because both of them have suddenly taken up the role of parenting, but it's not the same. So for this one who became pregnant and gave birth to a baby, how do we look at that? How does that affect them?
This one will also affect them because I have also encountered several students. Apart from being a counselor, I'm also a teacher.
Ah, nice.
And we have been having these cases with the young mothers. And when they go into parenting, and when they decide, not deciding because sometimes they'll just decide to joke around when they go for their parties or when they are partying and the like, and then it happens. Now, the girl child is also affected because number one, she doesn't have anything to give to this child because she's also a child.
Yes.
Number two, she is a student. She's not working. So in the final analysis, she brings up, let me put it in quotes, kind of a scarecrow kind of a kid. And the responsibility is again given to the mother in case the parents are there or they are alive. So they tend to leave these children at home. If there is no other parent in that particular homestead, then this girl finally will drop out of school to take care now of this young child she has brought up.
Wow. Okay, if you have any questions for us today, we are talking about when the child becomes the parent. Maybe you have an experience you want to share with us. 20316 SMS line. WhatsApp number is 0786 316 316. 25 minutes after 7. It is Parenting Tuesday, when the child becomes a parent. We're hanging out with Councillor Eunice today. Your messages are coming in via SMS on 20316 and WhatsApp 0786 316 316. This one says, good morning. My husband became a parent in his teenage years. That is working to get his school fees and even his siblings. And I tell you, there is a lot he didn't get to experience, and empathy is something he is learning every day. I believe children should be left to be children. Thank you for sharing that. And then there's another one I saw. This one says, this one is a sad one. It says, I lost my mom when I was 12. I'm almost 32 now. When my mom went to heaven, then it was just me. No one held my hand to guide me. For example, how I was able to finish my education is just a miracle by itself. In high school, I went to more than 6 schools. Nilikuwa naenda shule za mtaani, shule za ploti. Unaamka siku moja, unapata shule ilifungwa. Then I would have to go looking for another school. Hakuna mtu alinifuatilia, alinitafutia shule. Nikienda nipate ilifungwa, I had to look for another one. I was a student and a parent at the same time. Life made me an adult so fast that I feel I never had a chance to be a child. The auntie I was left with was all into raha. Though she was in the picture, it's not like she was there. It became worse when she went and left to pursue life. All in all, I'm grateful that God saw me through. My goodness, I can't even begin to imagine that kind of life. There's another one here that's just come in. My mom left when I was in class 4. I can't say I have enjoyed my teenage. I'm now 26. Sometimes I find it difficult to really connect with friends because I always feel like I am wasting time whenever I am with them. I can advise parents to nurture their marriages, if not for them, for the sake of their children. So quite a number of people identify with what we are talking about today. I've seen another form of this this scenario that we are talking about when the parent becomes a child, And it's something we see every day, but it's become so common we don't think much about it, where children are sent out to fend. Children have to bring in money. You will see them along the streets selling sweets, selling jugus. The one time I had a conversation with a young man, I don't think he was even 15. It's at night, he's hustling in the streets trying to sell peanuts. And I'm thinking, you don't have a home? Oh, yes, I have a home, but I need to get a particular amount of money. My mom expects me to go home with a particular amount of money. Otherwise, it will be an issue. I have to work before I eat. I don't know what you think about that, Councillor Eunice.
Very good, thank you. Now, I first of all would wish to go back a bit.
Yeah.
And I share an experience that was shared to me by another girl.
Mm-hmm.
She's already married. But during her teenage, the mother happened to pass on. And she was left to take care of the children.
Yes.
And the father became an alcoholic. So she's just there.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately or unfortunately, when she went to school, because the aunts had to take her to school, when other students were discussing about how they had good time with their parents at home, how they would go for picnic and the like, she was still in denial.
Yes.
And she would bring a poster parent.
Oh.
And she would start discussing how my mother did, what my mother did, how she took me for picnic, we went visiting and the like. So it was still in her that the mother is still there. But because she didn't want the others to know that she doesn't have a parent, she had to try to fit in their shoes.
Yes.
And what they were discussing is what she was discussing. So most of the times it becomes denial and they are not able to accept. Now, when we come to these young ones, sincerely, we have so many street families, we have so many street children, they are there. And there are some parents who will give them the responsibility that today you are the one who will place the meal on the table.
Yeah.
So what will this young boy or this young girl do? We'll go to town, we'll assist those with vehicles, park here, park there, I will check on you, I only need 10 shillings. I also give an experience. I had such an experience when I went to town. 2 boys came and they did that to me and they helped me to park. And I asked them, now, aren't you in school?
Yeah.
And they told me, now, we would want to be in school, but the parents are not able. We live in slums and the parents are not able, and they have told us to come and look for something.
Yeah.
And they only told me we only need 10 shillings. I wanted to see what will happen. I gave them 10 shillings. So the boy who took the 10 shillings did not want to share with the other one. And there was some kind of tug of what they started struggling. I was still watching. So finally, what did this bigger boy did? What did he do? Because I had given the smaller one.
Yeah.
The smaller one, because he could not actually handle this bigger boy, he decided to throw the 10 shillings on top of a roof.
Wow.
And when I looked at that scenario, I had to call them.
Yeah.
And I asked them, you only asked for 10 shillings and I gave you 10 shillings. Now you have thrown the 10 shilling and none of you has gotten the 10 shillings. So what if you continue with this, what will happen at the end of the day?
Yeah.
Don't you think at the end of the day, you will not have even a coin to take home?
Yeah.
And when you start struggling here, don't you think you might start fighting and injure each other? And when you injure each other, then it becomes another scenario where again the parent will look for money to take you to hospital. And I told them, I tried to talk to them and I told them it is unfair. Once you are given something, be contented with what you've been given because that is what you asked.
Yeah.
So finally, I went back to the pocket. I at least gave each other what I thought was good for them. And I felt that this is not helping.
Yeah.
I have just given them for that particular day.
Yeah.
What about tomorrow and the days to come? And here it is where now we would request our government to come in and assist these young kids, because some of them really would wish to be in school, really would wish to lead a good and comfortable life.
Yeah.
But this is denied.
Wow.
Either the parent has become absent, because those are some of the causes. Either there is divorce, separation,
Yes.
name them. And it is now the high time we also try to orient, or the government come in, take these children, take them to school. Even if we talk of free education, they get some schools, specific schools for these young ones, where
Yeah.
they will be rehabilitated and they can be taken care of, because their self-esteem, their self-worth will be so much reduced, and they will look like they are outcasts in the society.
Okay. There's another message here that says, Pastor James, good morning. In my case, my parents just sat there doing nothing. So I was forced to do million jobs to get food for the whole family. I'm just wondering, does it affect the child differently? Okay, it's one case where the parent vanished. Yeah, maybe they walked out or they died. And there's nothing much you can do about that. But now a scenario where the parent is there and they're doing nothing, and they're expecting you, the child, to go out and ensure that we eat. How does that affect the child?
It affects the child very negatively, because here, those people who are supposed to protect, those who are supposed to provide, they are just there. And they want to give all the burden to this young one who is developing. In fact, trying to get rid, or trying to make the child take their role, and they are there. And it is the high time the parents again are advised on the kind of care that they should take for their children. That is laziness of the highest order, I would call.
Yeah.
Because if the parents are there, then wananyima hawa watoto the what would I say? They are denying them their rights. And no wonder that is why we have the children's rights.
Yeah.
If this child knows the right places to go, this child should be guided and should be shown this is the right way. Because the parents are there, it's only that they don't want to take their responsibility. Denying even this child to be careless in his childhood or even in her childhood. So it is very devastating on the side of the child. And the child, again, will also have that self. In fact, she will have a very low self-image.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. I've had cases, one or two cases, maybe three, of instances where, okay, the wife has died. And, as you mentioned earlier, the man can get lonely. And they make their child the wife. I mean, very unfortunate, I can't even find a word to describe it. So now your child, your girl child, ends up taking not just the responsibility of the mother, they even take on the responsibility of the wife. And I've had situations, one or two or maybe three, where now the father, is sexually abusing their daughter because she has taken on the role of the mother and the wife. I don't know if you've ever encountered such situations and what you would say about that.
Yeah, true, I have. And I mentioned about spousification.
Yes.
Where now the eldest daughter now turned to be the primary caregiver, as well as the wife. Our society is a rotten society. Our society has really changed. It is not like those yesteryears when there was space, where there was, where our parents would respect the children and the children would respect their parents.
Yes.
The society today have made these men, sorry to talk about them, to take their children, to take advantage over their children, especially when the mother is not there. I have had several cases.
Yeah.
And you see that this girl child is very traumatized. And every time she's made the wife by the father will always tell that kid, do not say it.
Yeah.
The moment you say it, I will definitely kill you.
Wow.
And therefore, this girl child, is in denial. This girl child does not know now, how do I start? Whom do I tell? Whom do I confide with? And if I confide to so and so, they might think that I am cheating. I am not talking the truth. But we have had several cases where they have even been caught red-handed.
Yes.
And the government here should also come in and take stern measures to such fathers who are actually making their blood daughters, innocent blood daughters, to be their wives, to be the sole caregiver. It is very wrong. And it is very traumatizing. And that trauma will remain in this girl until I don't know when.
Wow.
And you might find that by the end of it all, she may also not have a good relationship, because she has already been taught and she has already been put into a situation that is traumatizing.
Yes.
Making her fear, and therefore she will live in fear that all men are like this.
Wow. If you have any questions for us today, 20316 is the SMS line. WhatsApp number 0786316316. Maybe you've been through what we are talking about. I'm just curious to find out, how has it affected you in your adulthood? Maybe, you were forced to take on parental responsibilities and as a teenager, but now you're an adult, you're married, you have your own family. Has that affected how you look at life and how you interact with your family? Please let us know. Once again, 20316 for SMS, WhatsApp 0786316316. 20 minutes before we get to 8, when the parent becomes the child. That's what we are looking at today on Parenting Tuesday. We get to hang out with Councillor Eunice Kang'ethe. I'm still inviting your questions, 20316 SMS line, WhatsApp number 0786316316. Councillor Eunice, I'm just wondering, what's the importance of allowing children to experience childhood and to just be children? Because when they find themselves in this scenario where they have to take on the responsibility of being parents, they cannot enjoy their childhood. I'll never forget, I hosted a lady here who was sharing how she took on some children. I think it was 3 children, if I'm remembering right. And the eldest, she was in her early teenagehood, but she could not go out to play. She was behaving like a mother in the house. She's taken these children because they were in distress. She's hosting them before she finds a solution for them. But this elder one is behaving like a mother. She has to ensure wameoga. She has to ensure she doesn't want to go and play outside. She is like the mother. So I'm just wondering, what's the importance of allowing children to be children and to experience childhood? And what happens when they don't experience it? How does it affect them when they become adults?
Very good. Now, after discussing at a length what we have already discussed, and looking at the negative effects of parentification, we still have some positive side on this. Number one, these parentifying children or parentified children, they are survivors.
Oh,
they become survivors.
Okay.
Yes, they actually possess that great capacity for resilience. They are able to bounce back. Even after they try to suppress their needs, because they will always put the needs of others ahead of their needs. They are able to bounce back, and that is why we say they are survivors.
Yes.
On the other hand, it also teaches them to learn to depend on themselves, because they've been left on their own to take care of these young siblings. They are actually able to learn to depend on themselves rather than depending on the elder or their parents and the like.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, they also have a high sense of availability, because they are able to avail themselves to the young ones. more important is that one of career choice.
Yeah.
They may choose a career that is in line with what they've been doing. Some of them may decide to become nurses.
Okay.
Others may decide to become social workers. Others may decide to come to provide this care. They become pastoral, they give the pastoral care or even the child care. So on the other hand, as much as you are trying to look at the negative side, we also have the positive side.
Yeah.
Because even their shock absorbers also develop. They also develop. And there is somebody by the name Cohen who said, or who sang a song, that there is a crack in everything. That's how the light comes in.
I like that.
And therefore, even when they are facing all these problems, it is actually a crack. And that crack, the light will penetrate.
Yeah.
And by the end of it all, they find themselves even doing far much better. They become more independent. They are not, they get rid of that dependency and they become independent, and they are able to have some sense, or they are sensitive even to other people's needs, because they have been taking care of these young ones and they have learned a lot from these young ones.
There's a concern here. This is the lady who said her mom left when she was in class 4, and she can't say she enjoyed her teenagehood. She's now 26, but she says, I have a very low self-esteem when it comes to dealing with ladies my age. I either feel like I am not good enough for them, or I am too proud for them. How do I handle this?
Very good. Now, there are several ways of trying to overcome this. And number one, she has to acknowledge that her adult, that her childhood was robbed. And once she acknowledges that, then she will be able even to start the healing process.
Yes.
She needs to reparent herself in adulthood, trying to take that role positively. On the other hand, she also needs to learn how to have healthy relationship. Because if she keeps on dwelling with the past, we say the past is heritage, it is gone. Our today is our responsibility.
Yes.
And our tomorrow is our challenge. And therefore, she needs to even find people whom she can discuss with, find people she can confide in, so that she can get out of those feelings. And remember, whenever such challenges come to somebody, and especially to her, she'll either allow that, she has to make a decision whether that challenge is going to define her, whether it is going to destroy her, or whether it is going to challenge her or to strengthen her. So the choice is hers. But she also needs a lot of guidance. She also needs a lot of counseling so that she can get out of that.
Okay. I'm just wondering, for those who, became parents or were forced to take on parenting roles when they were younger, when they eventually settle down, get married, and have their own children, when they now become parents, do they approach parenting differently than somebody who didn't go through the experience they went through?
Definitely this one will affect them, but it will always depend on how fast the person has adjusted to that.
Okay.
There are those who adjust very fast. There are those whose childhood time, when they actually they were not able to get rid of that particular kind of trauma, and therefore when they have their own children, they feel like this is not a healthy relationship. And that is why I'm saying they need to cultivate for this. They get a positive attitude. They try to cultivate for positive attitude, because once they start thinking about their past childhood, this one goes over and over, and it is passed from one generation to the other. So there are those who will pass it over because during their upbringing, and if they passed through this, they felt that this is the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And therefore, when they get their family, they find themselves in it. Because I was brought up like this, then this is the right way to bring up my children.
Yes.
And therefore, it is already passed from her former to the current. And then what will happen? That one will also be passed to the other. And therefore, the passing of this transformation continues, and it becomes a hell even to the children.
Okay. Before we run out of time, we have about 5 minutes. Talk to us a bit about that child who has to become a parent now to their parent because the parent is into substance abuse. So they come in a state where now they can't do anything, they're not responsible anymore, and you as their child have to take on their role as a parent, not necessarily to parent your brothers and sisters, but you become a parent to your own mother or to your own father because of an addiction. How does that play out? How does that affect the child?
Very good, thank you. Now, number one, the child will have a lot of anxiety. The child might be depressed.
Wow.
The child will have a lot of stress. Sometimes we use these words and we might even not get, we may not actually know the proper meaning of depression and stress. And we've been saying, I am stressed,
yes.
I am depressed, and the like. But in such a situation where this child now becomes the parent and the parent is there, that child will definitely experience a lot of problems, will experience unusual anger, feeling of loss of childhood because of emotional exploitation. They experience difficulty in adult relationship. And they have a high level of anxiety.
Wow.
They may also tend to be suicidal.
Oh.
And we have even seen some young ones taking their lives because the life at home has become unbearable. The parent is there, but the parent is not taking care. But the child is the one who is left to be the primary caretaker.
Yes.
And the caregiver. And therefore, what will happen? This child will not be able to take it any longer. And the child might even decide to run away.
Wow.
The child might even decide to say, this has become too much. And the only option that is left to me is to take my life because I cannot handle this. There are so many pressures from all corners. Pressure on this side, pressure on this side. And because this child is still developing, the child is still growing, and the child has not been given the kind of care and the protection that he or she requires, he finds that it has become too much, and therefore I cannot survive on this.
Okay. Wow. Councillor Eunice, thank you. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, my time is up for today, but I'm glad we had the opportunity to talk to you. Thank you for your insights into this whole discussion.
Thank you. Thank you too.
Great. So keep tuned in. This whole month we'll be focusing on this subject on Tuesdays for parenting, when the child becomes a parent, and we'll begin to look at specific situations, and bring in guests who've actually gone through that and how it affected them, and have them share their story so that we can learn from one another. That's all the time we have for Parenting Tuesday today. Thank you so much for participating and for being a part of it. God willing, we connect again tomorrow morning on the Financial Clinic. Have yourselves a great day.
For this and more of our shows, log on to www.familymediaonline.com to enjoy a wide variety of programs, from current affairs to testimonials and features, pastoral and inspirational shows, kids entertainment, and so much more. Also stream live on www.familymedia.tv.